Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're doing something really exciting today. We are taking the incredibly popular, highly effective whiteboard frameworks from Nick Invests, and we're boiling them down into a clear, visual roadmap to financial freedom. Look, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by financial jargon, or you feel like the actual math of getting rich is just hidden behind this giant wall, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to break it all down, step by step, focusing on how hitting that first massive $100,000 milestone changes literally everything, so you can start accelerating your wealth today.
So why are you still broke? It's a pretty painful question, right? But it's actually pulled straight from one of Nick Invest's most popular series, and we absolutely have to start here. So many of us are just trapped in this exhausting paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. It feels like no matter how hard you work, you just can't seem to get ahead of the bills. And honestly, your frustrations are completely valid. But today we're going to look at the exact mechanisms keeping you stuck, and way more importantly, the proven mathematical framework you need to break out of them.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our exact roadmap to get you out of financial confusion. We'll cover 1. Fixing your money psychology. 2. Hitting the $20,000 financial milestone. 3. The real math of saving versus investing. 4. The wealth rules that change everything. And finally, 5. The millionaire reality.
All right, starting with Phase 1, Fixing Your Money Psychology.
Before we even touch a calculator or start geeking out over compound interest, we absolutely have to deal with the mental blockers that are keeping people stuck. The source material talks about a concept called Think Rich, and it makes perfect sense, because your mindset is quite literally the foundation of your financial house. If that foundation is cracked, it doesn't matter how much money you pour in, it's just not going to hold up. So what exactly is money psychology? Well, it's the mental framework required to shift from merely identifying as broke to actively managing money and focusing on passive income. This is a massive identity shift, guys. You have to stop viewing money as this scarce resource that constantly slips through your fingers and start treating it as a tool that you actively direct. The whole goal here is to stop being a passive consumer and start being the proactive manager of your own capital.
Moving right along to Phase 2, the $20,000 financial milestone.
Now, in the personal finance world, people love talking about saving your first $100,000. And for very good reason. Saving your first $100,000 changes everything financially. It is the exact mathematical tipping point where compound interest truly takes off, and the money your money makes starts rivaling what you actually make from your day job. Wealth begins building almost automatically after that mark. But, before you can run towards that six-figure engine, you gotta walk. There is a very specific, earlier, numerical threshold that fundamentally alters your trajectory. $20,000. According to the Nick Invest framework, this is the exact savings or investment target where everything changes for a beginner. Hitting 20 grand is the critical threshold where you transition from playing financial defense to playing financial offense. It acts as the necessary seed capital to jumpstart your wealth acceleration toward that ultimate 100 grand goal.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this $20,000 actually unlocks distinct practical advantages in the real world. It's not just about having cash sitting there looking pretty. First, it accelerates your income growth because you aren't desperate anymore. You finally have the breathing room to take calculated career risks or maybe start that side hustle. Second, it forces you to master advanced budgeting. Because let's be real, nobody saves 20 grand by accident. It begins building lasting financial freedom. And most importantly, having this capital creates brand new wealth opportunities that simply do not exist when your bank balance is hovering right around zero.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Phase 3, real math, saving versus investing.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core concept. Having $20,000 just sitting in a basic savings account, losing its purchasing power to inflation, is not the ultimate goal. The rich don't just save, they invest. So let's look at the highly debated renting versus buying math to see how we should deploy capital. We're staying strictly neutral here, but the numbers speak for themselves. Renting a home frees up your capital. Instead of dropping a massive down payment, you can take that cash and invest it directly into the stock market for liquid returns. On the flip side, buying a home locks up your capital in a property, but it builds long-term equity over time. The real math shows us that the right choice depends entirely on what you do with your money. If you rent and consistently invest the difference, you can accelerate your wealth incredibly fast.
So how do the wealthy actually manage this transition? Well, here is the exact chronological step-by-step process. Step 1. Hit your savings milestone, that $20,000 we just talked about. Step 2. Shift your focus completely from stagnant saving to active market investing. You actually move the capital into assets that generate real returns. And Step 3. Automate your wealth acceleration. This right here is where the real math of getting rich kicks in. You set up systems so that a portion of your income goes straight into your investments every single month, without you even thinking about it. By automating this specific transition, you mathematically accelerate yourself toward that coveted $100,000 milestone. Once it's automated, compound interest starts doing the heavy lifting, stepping you closer to the point where your portfolio essentially just begins growing itself. To make this super concrete, imagine you take $10,000 of your milestone money. The strategy suggests keeping it remarkably simple by allocating it evenly across the 3 best index funds. We're talking roughly 33% in Index Fund 1, 33% in Index Fund 2, and 34% in Index Fund 3. Doing this instantly spreads your risk across the entire market, capturing long-term growth without requiring you to gamble on picking individual stocks. It's essentially an automatic wealth builder.
All right, we are on to Phase 4, wealth rules that change everything.
Once your investments are automated, things really start to get exciting. We graduate past the basics of budgeting and index funds and get into the advanced, highly counterintuitive rules of the modern wealth system. Let's address a massive paradox right now that causes so much market anxiety for people. If the world is a mess right now, inflation, conflict, economic stress, why are stocks at record highs? It's a fascinating question from the source material. And the answer is that the stock market is not a real-time reflection of your daily economic sentiment. It's a forward-looking mechanism. It measures corporate earnings, money supply, and future liquidity. Understanding this key difference between market resilience and everyday economic news is exactly what prevents you from panic selling when the headlines look grim.
Speaking of counterintuitive rules, get this. There are exactly 6 different ways people become rich using debt as a tool for leverage. I know, this completely blows the minds of people who are stuck in poor money psychology, mainly because we're all taught that all debt is inherently evil. But the wealthy absolutely understand the difference between bad consumer debt and productive debt. They use leverage to acquire assets that produce cash flow, amplifying their returns in ways you simply cannot achieve by using cash alone.
Which brings us to our final stage, Phase 5, the millionaire reality.
So the crucial point is all of these steps, from fixing your psychology, hitting that first $20,000, automating your index funds to propel you toward that automatic $100,000 engine, and learning the real rules of leverage, they all lead us to the ultimate goal. But what no one tells you is that the hidden reality of being a millionaire brings a completely new set of structural and psychological responsibilities. You aren't just sitting on a yacht all day. You have to actively manage complex passive income streams. You have to figure out how to structure dividend payouts to be tax efficient. And you must commit to continuously educating yourself on financial markets because preserving wealth requires just as much skill as building it in the first place. Which brings us to our final powerful question today. Are you prepared for the reality of wealth? It's super easy to say you want to be rich, but are you ready to put in the structural work? Before you can handle the complexities of millions, or even that magical $100,000 compound interest engine we talked about, you have to start today. Fix your money psychology. Aggressively push toward that $20,000 milestone and start investing. If you follow this exact roadmap, you will be truly ready for your own millionaire reality. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next